Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Denials that Venezuela is suspending its Petrocarib contract with 8 Caribbean countries. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, June 14. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. The Board of Petrocarib in Antigua and Barbuda is denying reports that Venezuela's state-owned oil and natural gas company PDVSA is suspending the sale of petroleum products to some Caribbean countries. In fact, a government statement issued after Thursday's cabinet meeting said that the board had received written notification of a 50% forgiveness of debt owed that's for petroleum products dating back to September 2017. A news article which was also published on this network referenced a report from the Venezuelan Oil Ministry claiming that PDVSA was planning to indefinitely suspend its program as a result of fallen crude production and low refinery utilization. That report is said to have cited Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Dominica, El Salvador, Haiti, Nicaragua, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and St. Kitts and Nevis as the countries that would be affected by the action. But the Antigua and Barbuda government maintains there will be no wholesale removal of benefits such as electricity and the social safety nets from the Petrocarib subsidy programs. Meanwhile, the West Indian Oil Company, which distributes petroleum products in Antigua and Barbuda, said it had received no notification from PDVSA, and it issued a statement reassuring customers that its operations would not be affected even if the report of a PDVSA pullout was true. It said it is not reliant on fuel supplies from PDVSA for the petroleum requirements of Antigua and Barbuda. The oil company assured the Antigua and Barbuda public that it is fully serviced by its suppliers and is available to meet demand, and there is no need for concern. Meanwhile, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says he has received no indication that PDVSA has suspended fuel shipments to his country either. At a media brief on Thursday, he said he has been in communication with the Venezuelan charge d'affaires in Kingstown, who also denied knowledge of any such move.
We have received no such communication, and they will communicate to us if it were true. And the Venezuelan ambassador, charge d'affaires here, I contacted him. He said he'd find out. He didn't get any information either. This is an...
But Dr. Gonsalves did acknowledge that the country is being affected by the sanctions imposed on the Nicolas Maduro administration by the United States. He said the fiscal benefits to the islands from the special arrangements with Venezuela have dwindled tremendously. Gonsalves told the media that this year the money gained from arrangements was only $2.4 million compared to over $30 million when the program started.
Last year, the sanctions started to bite. We had long-term financing of just $7 million. In 2014, we had long-term financing of 30-something million dollars, in excess of $35 million. That's to give you the way in which the sanctions have affected.
Gonsalves said although the country will not suffer from a fuel crisis since it has high storage capacity, it is facing other fiscal challenges as a fallout from the U.S. sanctions on Venezuela.
There are projects which we have earmarked to be financed by Petrocarib funds, like, for instance, set program. That's one, for instance. Like, for instance, some housing And the items are listed. I think we have about $10 million or thereabouts to finance projects out of Petro-Carib this year. $10 million. It's clear that we're not going to get $10 million in long-term financing because of these problems. So we have to find other sources to finance those things for which they were earmarked.
The Vincentian leader said PDVSA's main challenge because of the U.S. sanctions is finding avenues to pay privately owned boats to carry the shipment of petroleum products to the islands. The U.S. sanctions prohibits Venezuela from conducting transactions with U.S. and Canadian banks. Antigua and Barbuda's government has set November 6th as the date for a referendum on the twin island nation adopting the Caribbean Court of Justice, the CCJ, as its final appellate court. The new date comes 2 years after the previously scheduled referendum, which was cancelled after an opposition request to extend the time frame for public discussion on the issue. The government has announced that the education program will likely intensify in the post-carnival period. The CCJ was established in 2001 to replace the London-based Privy Council as the region's final court. But while many of the 15-member CARICOM countries are signatories to the court's original jurisdiction, only Barbados, Guyana, Belize and Dominica are members of its appellate jurisdiction. The government of Panama on Wednesday made a further donation of $135,000 to Antigua and Barbuda to help with recovery in Barbuda following the devastating Hurricane Irma last September. The bank instrument in the sum of $50,000 was presented to Antigua and Barbuda's ambassador in the United States, Sir Ronald Sanders, by Panama's ambassador to Antigua and Barbuda, Jesus Sierra Victoria. Victoria says the donation represents the second of two payments totaling $270,000 that Panama has made to the government in a spirit of friendship and solidarity. The first payment of $135,000 was handed to Prime Minister Gaston Brown in Antigua last December. The government of Haiti has expelled British humanitarian organization Oxfam following reports of sexual misconduct by some of the organization's staff during a relief mission in 2010 following the devastating earthquake. A joint statement signed by the Planning and External Cooperation, Interior and Foreign Affairs ministers said the action was taken against Oxfam Great Britain for violation of Haitian law and for serious violation of the principles of the eminent dignity of the human person. The statement was signed on May 29th, but was also made public at a press conference on Wednesday. The statement said, in part, that, and I quote, the withdrawal of the recognition entails the dissolution of this faulty NGO and the liquidation of its assets in accordance with the laws and regulations governing the matter. End of quote. An Oxfam spokesperson in Haiti said the organization will respond in a statement to this recent development. Haiti had temporarily suspended the organization's right to work in the country in February. And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, Jamaicans are being warned to brace for the negative effects of a sliding dollar on the U.S. market. Stay with us. There's more news after the break. Jamaicans are being warned to brace for the negative effects of a sliding dollar on the United States market. The Jamaican dollar started to slide against the US dollar about a week ago after trading steadily for more than 8 months. On Wednesday, the currency ended trading at 131.58 Jamaican dollars to $1 US. The central bank has told citizens not to panic over the movement, but the Jamaica Gasoline Retailers Association says prices at the pump will be affected, and opposition spokesman on finance Mark Golden warned that consumers should expect price increases. He said government's silence on the decline in the value of the dollar is unacceptable, adding that the Andrew Holness administration should tell the public the reason for the depreciation. Now, if the man who President Donald Trump has picked as ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago is confirmed in the position, he will seek help from federal agencies to reduce the rate of ISIS recruiting in the Twin Island Republic. Joseph Mondello says he would also urge TNT to drop its Organization of American States support for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Addressing sex and drug trafficking and supporting human rights and women's empowerment would also be on his list of priorities. Mondello spoke about those issues during questioning by the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee on Wednesday. Senators pressed him on ISIS recruitment in Trinidad and Tobago, with Chairman Marco Rubio claiming that Trinidad and Tobago produces more ISIS fighters per capita than any other country in the Western Hemisphere. In response, Mondello said the problem overshadows all the other issues he expects to face, and he will employ federal agencies to help the Trinidad and Tobago government grapple with it. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says it actually understands why people did not go to assist a woman who was beaten by her ex-lover on Monday. Public Information Officer Michael Jackman says it was a serious crime and acknowledged that people are too afraid to intervene in domestic squabbles. He says provision is made under the law for civilians to subdue a suspect and then make contact with the police. But he warned people to be careful with the force they use because they will have to justify their actions to the police. We get more in this CNC3 news report.
52-year-old Kemba Olufemi was shot at, dragged from her car and beaten with a gun butt at Tropical Plaza 2 weeks after she ended a relationship with her attacker. The failure of onlookers to intervene has sparked outrage on social media. Public Information Officer of the TNT Police Service says while citizens could have come together to restrain the individual, he understands why they may have been apprehensive.
One must also bear in mind that in such an instance where a firearm or something resembling a firearm is used, there is also the question of personal safety to persons who may wish or who may really have a desire to intervene. So in that circumstance, it may be understandable why persons who may have been fearful for their own lives would have chosen not to intervene.
Meanwhile, the National Security Minister is telling citizens to use their judgment before intervening. He says citizens do, by law, have the right to intervene if they see a crime being committed, but he says they need to exercise caution.
Once you can intervene, then you do so. It's a judgment call. If the situation is one that you cannot intervene, then you always can. You have a choice. You can call law enforcement. You have the 990 number, the 999 number. You have the 511. You have numbers that you can call, the 555 number. You can get immediate response.
St. Lucia's Health Minister Mary Isaac is expressing concern about ongoing violent crime and the impact it has on medical personnel and resources on the island. She says they are costly. We get more in this HTS News Force report.
Health Minister Mary Isaac believes that the quality of public healthcare service delivery is further exacerbated by the violent crime rate. Over the past few months, law enforcement has reported a number of muggings, stabbing incidents and shootings. The impact of the violent crime rate comes against the backdrop of concerns about the completion of the St. Jude Hospital, commissioning OKEU, and the debate over a national health insurance model.
The crime situation that we have right now, it is putting a lot of stress on our hospitals, on the doctors and nurses who actually are already burdened with taking care of patients who come in on a daily basis.
Isaac says worker safety is another factor that affects conditions at public health institutions.
These types of incidences, you also have to look at the security for these people who are working in the healthcare sector. And that alone, you know, has a negative impact on themselves, on their environment, and the work that they have to do. Having people who, you know, have been involved in crime in the hospital ward while the nurses and doctors have to, you know, do their daily work, that is very, very stressful for them. So it's putting a lot of stress on our healthcare sector.
The health minister is particularly concerned about the young people involved in violent crimes. She thinks more employment opportunities could serve as a deterrent.
Well, anytime we deal with crime, it is a very unfortunate issue for us here. It is very serious, and lately, you know, we are seeing more and more young people involved in all these shootings and everything. And I know that one of the promises that I made during my campaign was that if I had won, I would have gone through the constituency and pick up the guns house by house by house. But right now, I mean, it is not everybody that would want to do something like that. But I am sure if the young people become engaged, and we intend to continue to create employment and so on, and I believe this is one of the ways that we can help to alleviate the stress and the pressure that a lot of these young people are under.
Senator Isaac drew attention to the suicide rate, revealing that more staff will be appointed to man the suicide hotline.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies dismissed Sri Lanka on the opening day of the second test. The details when we return.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27th to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Sizzler Lungi, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Fight, August Alsina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Do you wish to combine a vacation with pure laughter? Then St. Martin is the place to be on June 22nd and 23rd for the 14th annual edition of its comedy festival, Laugh Till Belly Burst, with comedians from all over the world. Book hotel and show tickets until June 20th now at www.ltbbsxm.com.
West Indies defied Captain Dennis Chandimal's 11th Test 100 to dismiss Sri Lanka for a modest 253 in their first innings on the opening day of the second test at the Darren Sammy Cricket Ground in St. Lucia on Thursday. Chandimal ended on an unbeaten 119 but was upstaged by fast bowler Shannon Gabriel, who bowled outstandingly to finish with 5 for 59 to lead the Windies attack. Gabriel was supported by new ball partner Kimar Roach, who claimed 4 for 49 in the process, going past 150 wickets in his 45th match career. Sri Lanka's batting never came to grips grips with a purposeful Windies attack, and only first test century maker Kusal Mendes with 45 and Kusal Pereira with 32 offered any support to Chandimal. The visitors slumped to 15 for 2 early in the morning session before recovering through a 44-run third wicket stand between Pereira and Mendes to reach 79 for 3 at lunch. Mendes then added a further 67 for the fourth wicket with Chandimal to help Sri Lanka reach 157 for 5 at tea. But Sri Lanka suffered a meltdown in the final session, losing their last 5 wickets for 96 runs. In the 2 overs available before the close, West Indies had reached 2 without loss. Here are the highlights of the Sri Lanka collapse.
Let's bring you up to date. Let's show you the highlights of session number 3. They started at 157 for 5. Dinesh Chandimal and Niroshan Dikwella. Dikwella was the first to go. Caught rather low in the gully by Shehope. Shannon Gabriel once again just finding a bit of extra pace. Didn't bounce as much as Niroshan Dikwella expected, but a good catch in the gully by Shehope. Dinesh Chandimal just kept going. Akila Dhananjaya needed to hang in there, was drawn into it. Good catch again by the keeper. Dowrich low to his left, very well done. Dhananjaya just playing at a delivery. Ranga Lakmal looked to resist, looked to hang in there. And did get a few runs. One off the middle of the bat, the other one an edge, and then pitched up an LBW. Referred by Lakmal, rather reluctant referral. And in the end, it's a confirmation that it was hitting the stumps. Dinesh Chandimal started looking to play a few shots with Kasun Rajitha in. Good pull shot. And then the reverse against the leg spin of Devendra Bishu. Kept pushing and nudging. A few close opportunities for the Windies. Run out chance, but Dinesh Chandimal just started or kept leading from the front. Really good cut innings from the Sri Lankan skipper. Ultimately reached his 11th Test 100. Another look at the run out. He was well in, but the Sri Lankan skipper was forced to take some risks. Kasun Rajitha did survive some torrid moments. Was never really comfortable against the short ball. The glove was off the bat, so there was no question of that being out, though he touched the glove. So no connection of the glove with the bat, so good decision. And that was 100. What a satisfying moment for the captain. Really been a hard-working back-to-the-wall innings. Had to do it all by himself. And then Kasun Rajitha, a lapse in concentration. Fairly simple catch for the wicketkeeper, driving rather loosely. After some hard work, sticking in there with the skipper. Then Dinesh Chandimal was looking to play a few shots. Anything short, he was willing to take on. That was a pull shot, and then a bold shot over mid-off for 6 of Roach. Indicated his intentions, and then this happened. Looking to turn it away on the onside. Fairly good catch by Bishu, and this was referred. And then, well, it appeared to be, in fact, it was a no ball, and Chandimal was given a reprieve. But the West Indies didn't have to wait for too long. Lahiru Kumara, rather loose shot caught in the gully. And with that, the Sri Lankan innings ended 253 all out, again playing quite a distance away from his body, and at a time when he needed to hang in there. Rather unfortunate that he was looking at the option of playing a few shots. The Windies had 2 overs to survive, and Akila Dhananjaya bowled the second over, or the last over, and they did survive going into stumps.
And as the Windies go after second Test victory to wrap up the series, 2 former players are confident the Caribbean side has what it takes to get it done. Vinod Nawani of TV6 Sport reports.
Following their comprehensive victory against Sri Lanka in the opening Test in Trinidad, the West Indies have the firepower to win in St. Lucia as well in order to take an unassailable lead in the 3-game series. That's the view of former opening batsman turned commentator Phil Wallace, who was quite impressed with the Caribbean side in the opening game.
I think that Windies have a very good chance against Sri Lanka in St. Lucia on the backdrop of what happened here at Queen's Park Cricket Club in Port of Spain. That first test match was West Windies won by 226 runs. When you get to St. Lucia, obviously the pitch in St. Lucia should be similar to what the Queen's Park Oval has actually prepared in that first test match. And once the Windies bowlers can bowl discipline and hold their catches, I believe that they can leave St. Lucia 2-0 up.
At the same time, Wallace has respect for the Sri Lankans despite the fact that Angelo Matthews is out through injury. Having said that, Wallace is pleased that the Windies bowlers, including the spinners, came good against the opposition.
I think that West Indies do have the confidence to beat Sri Lanka because they took 20 wickets, and that is the only way you can win a test match, by taking 20 wickets. So the Windies have taken 20 wickets in the first test match, so that's given them a lot of confidence. And another good thing too is that the spinners, both Bishu and Roston Chase, came into their own when it really mattered in the second innings.
Also optimistic about the Windies' chances is another former test opener in Brian Davis. However, he is warning against complacency.
They have to be not only confident, but they have to have the approach necessary without any shell-headedness or without feeling that the match is already won because of the convincing way they won the first test. Every test match is different. Everyone is a different pitch, a different outfield, and a different day.
While Davis gives the...
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27 to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Singer Logi, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. Fight, August Alpina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Zasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again, festival again. The Caribbean's greatest summer line, yeah, it's come to Ramadan. 44 is the hair, I know you love it here. Troops and festivities, Queen of the Caribbean. But all night, no time for sleep, emancipate with me.
Again, the major developments of this day: denials that Venezuela is suspending its Petrocarib contract with some Caribbean countries. And in sport, West Indies dismissed Sri Lanka for a modest 253 on the opening day of the second test. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to cornernews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Do have yourselves a good night.